All right, everyone. Welcome to the Fourth and Long podcast, our seventh episode. We have a lot of stuff to talk to about tonight. Sorry, we're getting a little bit of a late start. One of us here kind of fell asleep earlier. I'm not going to say who it was, so just guess. And but yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence and everything going on that. But we'll get into that. What's up, Jake?
What's up, Justin? How are you?
Not tired anymore, so that's good.
I would hope not.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to get right into it. Instead of the 5 things in 50 seconds this week, we're going to get right into the biggest news to hit college football this year and probably to hit college football in the last 5 years, really. Trevor Lawrence, Heisman favorite and Clemson quarterback, tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. He informed Dabo and his coaching staff, and he immediately went into isolation. And it's going to be weird to see what this does for him and what this does for the rest of college football. Jake, what do you got on it?
I mean, I was saying this beforehand, kind of, looking at Clemson's future, because we know that they're going to lose this year, both Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, and this kid that's coming in, DJ Uiagalelei. That's a mouthful.
Good try.
I think this is going to be a good start for him to kind of show he's come in garbage time and has played really well. I also think we're going to see Clemson's offense maybe switch a little bit to a more balanced scheme because of, just to see what DJ can do and kind of take the pressure off of DJ, especially with an elite running back like Travis Etienne that they have in their backfield.
Yeah, it's I was thinking about this, I think this morning, like Clemson's got to be bumming, because Lawrence obviously got the COVID, but I guess I don't really know the specific rules on it, but I can imagine that Dabo and the coaching staff wanted to end up redshirting Uiagalelei. And so with this happening, he's going to end up, he already played in, I think, 2 games, and you can play in 3 before you can't redshirt anymore, I believe. But, so they got to be bumming a little bit that they're not going to have to be able to redshirt him. But it's just like Clemson. Any big school like that, they always got a backup that's it seems like they always have a backup who's like the real backup, and then they're like a freshman quarterback who's really good if needed to come in for like a full season could do it. But then like I know Clemson last year, Trevor Lawrence got knocked out. It was either last year or 2 years ago against North Carolina, and Chase Bryce came in for Lawrence and did a pretty good job. They won the game, but now Chase Bryce was a graduate transfer. Now he's at Duke. But what do you think this really means for college football? Because obviously, he's the best player. He's one of the best players. And usually in a regular season, I would say that missing any games is going to hurt him in the Heisman race. I don't think it is that way this year because, let's be real. He'll miss probably 1 game, maybe 2. Justin Fields has played 1 game. So, other than that, so what are your thoughts on that?
I believe that it won't hurt him at all. As you said, it won't really hurt him. I think it will just actually make him better because he'll have, that they have a grueling schedule as D1 athletes, especially the quarterbacks, all the meetings they have to go to, all the assignments they have to remember. And I think this is just going to give him time to, really hammer down on that stuff that he needs to. He won't be able to practice, but he will be able to study the playbook more, look at coverages, break down film and whatnot. And I think that's just going to make him a lethal quarterback going into these playoffs. I looked up the rule for the red shirts. So in the ACC, they can play up to 4 games of a single season without burning his red shirt. So DJ Uiagalelei,
he's played in at least 1, if not 2 already, right?
Yeah, he's played in 2, I believe.
Yeah,
he played in the Wake Forest game in garbage time, and I think he came in for last week's game also.
I guarantee he had to be in there during the Syracuse game.
The Wake Forest game. Yeah, he was in there. Yeah, he was playing the game. That was the 70. That was the 73. Three.
No, it was Georgia Tech.
Oh, Georgia Tech. Sorry,
Yeah,
I got the logo. So the Georgia Tech game, he was definitely in there.
yeah,
But again, if he is able to play these two games, worst case scenario, Trevor Lawrence is out for the Notre Dame game, which could actually give Notre Dame the best chance at winning that game. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you think about it. I mean, having to go with your backup against a team like I mean, Clemson versus Notre Dame. When Clemson plays Notre Dame this year in South Bend, it'll probably be the biggest regular season game they played in what 5 years, 6 years. I mean,
yeah,
there's no one in the ACC that's touched them, and I have a feeling that that Clemson probably wanted to redshirt Hugo Lallier, and we're gonna do our best to figure out that name, but no promises. It took me about a year and a half to get to a Tagovailoa, so but yeah, so I could see them wanting to redshirt him, but and you also feel bad for Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, he seems like a fulsome, wholesome dude. He's really into his religion, which is great, and um, so you obviously feel bad for him. But in terms of missing games and like awards and anything like that, I really don't think much is going to change. But it sucks for him. I mean, and I put it in the little article I wrote today that I don't know if it's up or not, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we'll get to see the real Clemson team this week. I mean, I think they have. I think they are good enough to obviously beat. Who do they play this week? Um, Boston,
BC,
yeah, Boston
BC,
College. Who I mean, it is scrappy, but
yeah.
yeah. So, and then like it just kind of, and then with the whole thing in Wisconsin, it just kind of shows me, and hopefully it shows a lot of those coaches and players that I mean, everyone is vulnerable to this. Like,
Yeah, no
I
one's
mean,
no one's immune to it. Like everyone can be touched by it.
yeah. So
I
it's
mean, I don't know if people know what we're talking about. Wisconsin versus Nebraska was canceled this week due to an outbreak at Wisconsin, and will go down as a no contest under the rules for their division, which is crazy because at this point it puts Wisconsin has been in their championship game for like the last 4 or 5 years in a row, basically.
yeah. I
It's
think
been Wisconsin versus whoever else.
yeah.
And what does this do for them, making them start their season off 0-1? I mean, I don't understand. I know they're starting late, but why can't they reschedule it for another week?
And also,
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't really understand like why they decided to make this 21 game rule because I mean, if all the players that Wisconsin say had the virus have the virus and like just got it this week, they can't play next week and they can't play the week after that again. I
But
mean,
again, it's what standard are you setting when a head coach like Nick Saban earlier on can test positive on a Tuesday and be back for a Saturday night game?
exactly. And I
Or
mean,
even Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is out a maximum 10 days.
and
You know,
I guarantee that
I know
Dabo and everyone,
they'll only miss one game.
yeah, that they'll make sure he gets played in that Notre Dame game. But at least I would hope they would try and get him to play. But yeah, to me, it kind of just showed me that I mean, and also as the weather gets colder, this doesn't really necessarily like matter to Clemson, but like Wisconsin definitely as the weather gets colder. I'm not a scientist. I don't really know that much about the virus, but I know that as it gets colder, the virus is going to become like more spreadable, and it's going to become there's more and more cases, and so that's why I think it was stupid for the Big Ten to start when they did. But I mean, now, I mean, like we've been talking about, we talked about it last week. I mean, they're missing probably the third favorite in the Big Ten, the third favorite, other than, or maybe even the second favorite at this point, because we don't know how good Penn State is. And when you lose them, and I mean, they in that stupid no contest rule, it seems like they can just, make. I mean, there's no way they're gonna be able to play in a couple weeks. So
I
I
mean,
don't
as
know.
you said, your players are out 21 days. That's basically losing 2 games in a row. Even if you can't, you don't forfeit the second one, that's playing at a huge disadvantage going into your second, potentially third game. You
Yeah,
have to cancel that game. You're going to miss your starters at least the next game and potentially the week after that. That's like an 0-3 start That's like a 3 week handicap right there.
Yeah,
You
and I
know,
mean,
okay, we're gonna give you an L, and then you can't play without your best players for two more weeks.
yeah, and like as a Wisconsin player, like what is your mentality then? Because it's like, well, we're basically going to be 1-3, with three no contests, and like we don't have a chance to. Usually, they don't won't even have a chance to make a bowl. So I don't know. It just like I said, it proved to me that really anyone's vulnerable. And when 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 Lawrence got it, I think you texted me, or so I don't know how I saw it,
Yeah,
but
I
someone
texted you. I texted you.
last night,
And
right?
then yeah,
Yeah, and so I really didn't think much would come of it, but I mean it's a huge loss for them, and like I
I mean,
said,
I think it's definitely a big loss, but again, they have a premier back in Travis Etienne, and I think they'll, and DJ Uiagalelei, um, when he did come in against the Georgia Tech game, because I watched some of his footage last night and this morning, he looked really good. Like he has
yeah,
very good accuracy. I mean, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of St. John's Bosco out of California. I think they're not going to be in terrible hands, but at the same time, it's a short week for him to prepare, as a starter, thinking, this breaking news on a Tuesday, you have really 2 day, 1 day of, walkthrough to practice, and then you have game day. And I don't think they'll try to test his arm too much. I think what they're going to try to do is just rely heavy on the run game.
yeah. I mean, so yeah, I mean, you're definitely. I mean, you got to think that Davos Sweeney, without Lawrence, I mean, he cuts his playbook in half. He can only run certain plays, and that's a negative for them. But like I said, they should be good versus Boston College this
Oh
week.
yeah.
And we obviously all wish the best for Trevor Lawrence, his friends and family, and for, I
Anyone
mean,
else affected on the team?
yeah,
Because
and
they didn't release like a list of Trevor Lawrence had to be in contact with other people before, so there's definitely probably a list for Clemson that they the players who don't want to be named, and it wasn't just Trevor Lawrence. So
yeah, and excuse me, and I mean, Wisconsin, I mean, like I said, I mean, I just don't know what they're gonna do. There's nothing, there's no real way to look at this or way to go about it. So, yeah, with that being said, we obviously wish the best, and but we're gonna head into our week 9 preview, and like I said, we're gonna kind of keep the Trevor Lawrence talk kind of out of these but because we already talked about it for what 13 minutes, so like I said, I'm sure we both think Clemson will be all right this week for Boston College, even though Boston College is kind of tricky. They got that big quarterback, Phil Jerkovich.
mhm.
And so, but we'll go ahead and get into our week 9 preview, and we're going to start with one of my teams, Michigan State at Michigan. And I remember when this game was like actually used to be a big game, kind of when D'Antonio was there and Harbaugh was just getting in there, and it was a big game. I mean,
Yeah,
I
you had
haven't looked.
Rashawn Gary, you had Jabril Peppers at one point, and you just had really. It wasn't so much their offense that was good; it was their defense. Everyone talked.
Yeah, and Michigan, I mean, this year I haven't looked at the line for this game, but it's got to be one of the biggest lines they've ever had in this rivalry because, I mean, Michigan State lost to Rutgers last week and turned the ball over 7 times. And against I mean, congratulations to Rutgers. Like I said, you're in the Big Ten now. We officially accept you. But like, Michigan State, if they can't stop Rutgers, they're not going to be able to stop Michigan. So, yeah, I think Michigan will probably kind of breeze through this one. Obviously, Joe Milton, he's the definition of a game manager. I think that's what's really hurt Michigan in the Jim Harbaugh era is they thought Shea Patterson might be it, but they've never had a real star quarterback, and so I guess Milton's their guy, and they do have 4 good running backs in their stable to lean on, and their defense, like I said, is always solid. So I forget what score I put, but I'll look at it in a sec. But yeah, I have Michigan win pretty easily, especially at home against little brother. But yeah, you can't really come into a game and expect any. Um, respect from your opponents if you just lost to Rutgers. Yeah, so I'm sorry, but
No, I could completely
but
get it.
yeah, so I think Michigan wins this one pretty easily. I'll pull up my outline and scores in a sec, but yeah, I think Michigan wins pretty easily, and I think Michigan will crack the top 10 maybe next week or the week after. But like I said,
Okay.
yeah, and so with that, we're gonna head into one of your games.
Yep.
One of your games that we covered, Missouri at Florida, which we believe is still going on. Yes.
Yes, I actually had emailed um, Florida and Missouri football yesterday and Wednesday. So Missouri kind of gave me a blanketed statement. Florida, I didn't hear anything out of. Missouri officially said they have not heard anything, as they know the game is going ahead as scheduled. And if we're taking this as the game is going to happen. For those who don't know, Florida still had players testing positive this week, coming off a 2-week break from players that because they also had a COVID outbreak. Going into this game, if it does happen, pending COVID results and any other news, I mean, it is Friday and we haven't heard anything, so we have to assume it's going ahead as forward. Um,
Yeah, you would.
Missouri.
Go ahead.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I would say you'd think that they. I mean, if the game's
I mean,
tomorrow, they would have already traveled to Missouri, so it's got to be at least going on so far.
yeah. Missouri. I mean, this year is really kind of lackluster as they are usually. They don't have any really good players like Drew Lock back a couple years ago. But Missouri this year has done one thing, and that's their run game has been able to keep improving week in and week out, even though they're 2-2. And that helps them control the tempo of the ball. And I think against a team like Florida, um, that gives their defense a really much needed break against a air raid offense like Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts to really take a hold of them. But I mean, we saw what Cincinnati did coming off a 21-day relief. I think Florida is going to be the exact same way if they play. Pending any big names, say if Kyle Trask or Kyle Pitts tested positive. Again, no news on that. But this is a must-win game for Florida. They're 2-1 right now. They're sitting at ranked number 10. This is coming off this 2-week break. This is to really show everyone that they mean business and that they can reestablish themselves like Cincinnati did. I have Florida winning 42-21 against Missouri. I think Missouri might not score 21 points against them, but Florida's defense might come off a little rusty. But again, we were wrong about the Cincinnati SMU game. Cincinnati
Absolutely.
comes out exactly. So I think Florida comes out and smashes Missouri in the mouth. And with a mediocre team and not really a great offense, I think Missouri kind of crumbles
Yeah.
under that pressure from the air from Florida.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, yeah, Missouri. Am I echoing?
A little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, that's weird. But yeah, Missouri's gonna have a tough time. I mean, we've said it. I mean, Kyle Pitts is pretty much unguardable, but you haven't really heard from him in the past couple of weeks because Florida's been not been playing. So yeah, like I said, I like Florida in this one too. And I mean, Florida's just kind of got to get through this regular season, and then if they make it to the playoffs or different bowl, they just got to rest all their guys. So.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the score of the Michigan State game, I have Michigan winning 34-21. And with that being said,
We're going to go into one of your matchups, actually, in the team you just talked about, in number 17, Indiana at Rutgers.
yeah, how much do you hate Indiana after the bad call last week?
I don't necessarily blame them. I blame the refs on that. I mean, it just goes to show them. I mean, if Penn State, I thought that game, we had talked about it. I didn't think that game was going to even be close, Indiana versus Penn State. I thought Penn State was going to wipe the floor with them, but Indiana really came out and showed we're not going, we're forced to be reckoned with. But again, Indiana could just be like what Mississippi State is right now. You have a week one really impressive performance versus a not so good Penn State team right now and what it's turning out to be, and you just get run over for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, and the weird thing about it is, looking back at that game last week, Indiana didn't have very good stats. Like Michael Penix Jr., their quarterback, was 16 of 39 for I think 170 yards, one touchdown, and one interception. I mean, that's not really anything to boast about. And then their best runner was uh, Stevie Scott the third, and he carried the ball 20 times for 57 yards and two touchdowns. Two touchdowns are great, but 57 yards.
57 yards on 20,
I mean,
20 carries.
that's less than 3 yards a carry. So
It's less than 2 yards. I think it's almost less. It's like just over two, like 2.3. Honestly,
I'll believe you. I don't know.
again, it's just crazy. We're starting to see some of those backs that do that are kind of big backs that they just kind of rely on to like try to hammer the defense and then open up the play action. But I mean, again, two touchdowns is nothing to slouch at. That's still a pretty good week. But I guarantee you, those were. I didn't watch the game that closely. I'm just watched like the ending of it because it was so crazy. But that's I guarantee you those were within like the 1 yard line, if not on the 1 yard line.
Yeah, I mean, so I do. I mean, they played Rutgers, and I said I mean, good for Rutgers. They're officially part of the Big Ten, but I mean, even if you look at Rutgers stats from last week versus Michigan State, it wasn't as much of that Rutgers beat Michigan State as that
Michigan
Michigan
State
State
beat
beat
themselves.
itself. I mean, they gave up. I mean, they turned the ball over 7 times. So I think Indiana comes into this game, flying high after that opening weekend game, and I think they come into New Jersey and beat I think Indiana comes into New Jersey and beats Rutgers 42-17. And I tried to find a line in this game, but there isn't one, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so with that being said, we'll transition back to one of your games you covered, which is Mississippi
Mississippi
State.
State versus number 2 Alabama. They've had Mississippi State's coming into an interesting situation. I mean, they had that one really impressive win over LSU in their home opener. Their quarterback threw for 623 yards against the defending national champions, but they've just been non-existent these last 3 weeks. They have 2 weeks now to prepare for Alabama, and this is like their next biggest test. I don't think they're really going to put up that much of a fight, but if I was them, I would try to get this offense back on track. I mean, you clearly could do something, against an LSU Tigers team that has really not been this good this year. But, you still took the college football world by storm. You had a quarterback set a record that probably won't be broken anytime soon. And it's just, you're going up against a struggling Alabama secondary, who also just lost their best wide receiver. But again, yep. For those who didn't hear, Jalen Waddle, and I see this as a game, we can say Devontae Smith really step into the role and try to take over as that number one, but I just don't think he has. I still think he's a hell of a player, but I don't think he has that shiftiness in the open field when he's put one-on-one to really be able to break away. He surely has the speed, but he's more of a slot receiver, like we talked about on Tuesday, than he is a kind of out there on an island type player.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Mac Jones does without Jalen Waddle. We both kind of agree that Mac Jones is obviously in the Heisman race because of his numbers, because he's on a winning team. But
not in my Heisman race, which we'll get to later. But
I don't even know.
I left him out because I just can't stand. I'm sorry, but this is gonna. All right, I'm gonna take over for a second. Mac Jones is a typical Alabama quarterback. He is just like AJ McCarron, who somehow wasn't also in the same conversation for Heisman.
I mean popcorn.
But I understand. Okay, he's got the stats, but let's put it this way: was AJ McCarron anything when he went into the NFL? No. Is anyone in the NFL looking for a pocket quarterback like Tom Brady or like Peyton Manning was? No. Everyone wants a mobile quarterback who wants to be accurate outside the pocket and be able to create an open space, because these secondaries are starting to get really good in the NFL. And quarterbacks need to be able to make time. I mean, look at what Russell Wilson's doing right now. Look at what Kyler Murray is doing right now. They need offenses in the NFL today need a quarterback who can be somewhat mobile. Mac Jones isn't that. I'm sorry, but he's going to be a perennial backup like Brian Hoyer. I'm
Yeah,
calling it now. That is my hot take. You don't have to agree with me, but I can't stand having Mac Jones in this conversation. I understand he's a very accurate quarterback, and someone will give him a shot at a starting job like Brian Hoyer did. But he's just going to be known as a perennial backup because the NFL is changing to a mobile quarterback league. All right, that was
uh,
my little spiel with that.
I mean,
um,
he is going to get lucky because
oh yeah,
he'll probably get drafted late if he goes the first round or if he goes the second round. He'll get drafted late by a pretty decent team, so he'll go into a good environment. But yeah, I don't know. And the rumors around Mississippi State, I've been reading a little bit up on it and stuff. Apparently, no one on the team really likes KJ Costello. Like he kind of
yeah. I mean,
transferred in from Stanford, this West Coast boy with red hair, and I guess no one's really taking a liking to him.
he's
Which,
turning into the Bo Callahan of Mississippi State. Do you
yeah,
know?
but
Do you know that reference?
I know I don't.
Okay, so for those who don't know, that is a draft day preview, and I'm surprised you don't know that movie since it's about your Cleveland Browns.
I've never seen that movie in my life.
All right, well, everyone who's watching, put it on your list. Go watch it sometime this weekend. It's a great movie. Kevin Costner's great in it. Um, and it's just basically about the GM for the Cleveland Browns having the number one overall pick, perennial quarterback Bo Callahan out of Wisconsin is like the consensus number one, and they don't. So spoiler alert, they don't pick him because he doesn't have any friends because no one likes him on the team, basically.
That was
So
that was Jacob with one of our new segments. We are just gonna review films for one day. No,
right.
yeah, no. I just don't think I'm gonna watch Draft Day, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll take your advice. But
Let's get back to it. We were talking about Mississippi State versus Alabama. I think this is a game that, we could see a more heavy run team out of Alabama with Najee Harris in the backfield. And with Trevor Lawrence being out 2 weeks, Najee Harris could squeak his way into the top two. For right now, I mean, with Trevor
yeah,
Lawrence being out and sidelined. Like, I still think Trevor Lawrence is going to win at the end of the day and when all is said and done. But, if Najee Harris has like 2 or 3 games where he's averaging 5 to 4 touchdowns a game, you never know. We could see another Derrick Henry type Heisman win.
yeah, I agree. I mean, his numbers are like just jump off the screen at you. He has 103 carries for 595 yards, and that's not necessarily what blows me away. He already has 14 touchdowns this season, which I mean, you got to think. Week 9. I mean, you got to think that he'll come close to doubling that. He'll have over 20 touchdowns this year. So I mean,
Which is
good.
crazy for a running back in college football.
Yeah, I mean, and it just shows you that's their real strength, and I mean, that's always going to be Alabama's real strength. I mean, they've never been until Tua. I mean, they've never been a
An air raid
program.
offense.
Yeah, a program that
I mean, I
produces
can't.
quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. AJ McCarron, Mac Jones. Yeah.
they produce game managers, and I mean that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But with that said, we're gonna get into my next game, Boston
Oh,
College. What's up?
sorry. My score prediction for that game is Alabama 45, Mississippi State 14. I
Okay.
still think Mississippi State again will come out and show something new. And again, that Alabama defense has struggled a little bit early on in the first quarters, but after that, it's just the run of the mill for Alabama. Sorry,
I
I just
mean,
wanted to throw my
no, you're
prediction
good.
out.
You're good. No, I mean, so are you gonna take the that line? The line for that game is Alabama minus 30.5. So
Oh,
you're right. You're
yeah,
right
yeah,
there in between it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so like I said, but yeah, that's gonna be a blowout. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Alabama's offense runs without that guy. But I mean, it's Alabama. They have other guys that can do things. Maybe not
Yeah,
as good as
exactly.
Jalen Waddle, but yeah. So, and then we'll head into my next game, Boston College, at the team that everyone's talking about this week and the player at Clemson. Um, I'm gonna have you say his name.
It is DJ
Yes,
Weagalele.
he is a freshman quarterback for Clemson that will I believe, yeah, he will step in and play quarterback for the Tigers while Trevor Lawrence is not there. And like I said, I don't think it means very much this week. I mean, DJ, I mean, he's good. He was a five-star prospect out of, what was he, out of Bosco?
St. John Bosco.
Yeah, he was out of St. John Bosco, five-star prospect. Like I said, it probably is a bummer for the coaches because they probably wanted to redshirt him, but he'll
Well,
step in.
technically, we have to fact check it, but he's still eligible. He can't surpass 4 games play that he's appeared in. So if he plays in this one, he still has the ability to redshirt. It's that second game against Notre Dame that could, put on. He has to play in 5 games to waive his redshirt, but he can play in up to 4.
Yeah, I just I find it very hard to believe, and this is just because I am a conspiracy theorist. It's basically very hard for me to believe that Dabo Swinney is not going to find a way to get Trevor Lawrence on the field next week in South Bend. But going back to this week, Boston College is pretty tough. I mean, they have a good quarterback in Phil Jerkovic. He kind of looks like a fullback, a tall fullback, but
Mhm.
he's pretty good. He's pretty mobile and he moves around. And they've been able to, for the first time in maybe a couple, I don't know about even maybe a couple years, they've been able to stay in some games and keep it close. But yeah, this weekend I don't think they'll be able to keep close. I do think Kent or not Kenston. That was my high school. Wow. I do think Clemson might struggle in the beginning, and not struggle necessarily, but be slow in the beginning, just trying to get DJ ready and used to the game flow. But yeah, I have my prediction for that score is I have Clemson winning over Boston College, 52-14, and
Oh,
the line on that game is Clemson minus 31. So if I were a betting man, I would take the minus 31, but that's not one of my best bets just because
um,
those huge numbers they always throw me off. So,
mhm. So,
and
so we having another Justin perfect prediction here.
no,
For
I've
those
said
who
all, oh yeah, 52-17. Yeah.
50,
Yeah.
52-17, man, it's pretty close.
It would be unbelievable if I
For
got.
those who don't know, Justin predicted the score exactly perfect for Ohio State's game last week in their opener. He predicted the score 52-17. So 52 might be a magic number for Justin.
That would be great. I mean, I'd be shocked, but yeah, that's what I got, and so we'll head into Texas at Oklahoma State, which I think is actually it's one of your games, but I just want to get something real quick. I think it's going to be one of the better games on Saturday, and I
Oh,
also think
absolutely.
I think it's incredibly important for both the Longhorn program and the Cowboy program. But I'll let you
Yeah.
get into it.
I mean, you said it perfectly. Texas is already 2 losses. Their playoff hopes are kind of out of it, but Oklahoma State for them is a big rivalry, and they're going to try everything they can to mess up Oklahoma State's Cinderella season so far. I mean, they're coming into Oklahoma State's coming into this game 4-0 and ranked number 6 in the country, which I believe is their highest ever rank. I was reading an article earlier in the week for that.
Yeah, it's got
You
to
know,
be.
they're if they're able to get that running game going behind Chuba Hubbard, then they're going to be unstoppable. Currently, they lead the Big 12 in with 216 rushing yards per game. Last week, but last week their defense was tested against Iowa State, who has a very good offense, and this week I think is going to be another big test with Sam Ellinger coming off and trying to really prove himself and say, hey, I'm still a good quarterback in the country right now.
Yeah, you say what you will about Sam Ellinger and his career at Texas. He's always been pretty much a big gamer and like a big baller. He can play in big games, but
Yeah.
I just don't know. I mean, I'll let you get finished, but to me, Oklahoma State has won this year through the run game and through controlling the clock.
Yep.
So if they can control the clock, to me, they can win the game. But I'll let you
Exactly.
get into it.
So yeah, I mean that's what my kind of big key to the game for them to win it is. But this is Sam Ellinger, as you said. He shines in big moments. He performs. he pulls out. The biggest struggle for that Texas team has been their defense, and the only thing that's been a staple point for them is not allowing more than 3.5 yards a carry. So if they can hold that run game, their offense is going to have to show up. And this, as you said, I think is going to be one of the closer games we have this weekend, and could make for potentially one of the game, like a top 5 game of the year contender.
Yeah,
Just because both teams have something to prove here. Texas trying to prove their season, isn't a bunch of fluke, but at the same time, Oklahoma State saying we're a team to be reckoned with in the college football playoff this year. We want to be in it. I have my prediction is Oklahoma State though coming out on top, 38 to 31, and I actually will get into it after this, but I have the lock of the week being -3.5. I think that this game is not going to come down to a field goal. I think it's going to come down to like a touchdown possession game.
I feel that. Yeah, I mean, it feels like everything in the Big Ten is always up in the air this year, except for Oklahoma State is like the steady.
It's the Big 12, not Big 10, by the way.
Yeah, I said Big 12, didn't I?
No, you said Big 10.
Big 12. It feel like it's always up in the air, but I feel like Oklahoma State has kind of been that like that team that kind of calms you down, that they're always winning and they're always in the games. But yeah, and that'll be a good one in the Big 12. I mean, we know Texas can score. I mean, that Oklahoma Texas game was
Crazy.
terrible, but great at the same time. So let's head on to my almost last game. I just looked at it. What was it? Oh, Notre Dame at Georgia Tech. Notre Dame at Georgia Tech. Notre Dame is really weird to me because, I mean, they've played in 5 games. They're 5-0. Yet Ian Book is only 74 of 124 for 1,026 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean,
well, again, they had that. I hate to bring it up, but that Louisville game, 12-7, with 4 field goals, or they scored. So they kicked 2 field goals, scored a touchdown, and then missed the extra point. That's how they scored 12. And that game was just so horrific. I think that was probably the worst game we've seen all year. Just play-wise, people were dropping open passes. They weren't making throws they should be making. So it's just been probably one of the worst games that we've had all year for college football.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame is averaging like one of the lower passing ratings this year. I mean, they're only averaging 207.6 passing yards per game, and they're giving up they're rushing for 231. And then they're so Georgia Tech's a running team, so I think this will be a slow, methodical game for them. I think Notre Dame will come on top, but this is actually a big trap game for Notre Dame if you think about it. I mean, they're definitely going to be looking ahead. I mean, I got to tell you, if I was a Notre Dame player and I saw that news of Trevor Lawrence, I obviously wouldn't laugh at it or make fun of it or something, but I'd be licking my chops if I was a Notre Dame player to play them next week, because Trevor Lawrence might not be there, and it's finally Notre Dame's chance to maybe get back on the elite level with the rest of what they should be, really. But yeah, so this one should be good. I do think Georgia Tech runs, like I said, a spread triple option kind of thing. They used to run the triple option, but yeah, I have Notre Dame winning though at Georgia Tech, 37-14, and the line on that is Notre Dame -20. Okay. So with that, we'll head into your last game. Actually, I looked at it. It looks to be hopefully one of the better games this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 games that we're gonna have, this is my out of conference matchup because we're lacking some bit of good games. Coming out of the SEC and Big 12. But this is shaping up to be a really good game. Memphis versus number 7 Cincinnati. This is going to be a rematch of last year's AAC championship game, and very well could be a preview for this year. Cincinnati's defense, I think, has to be talked about. I mean, last week, coming off of 21 days without playing a competitive game, to hold SMU to just 13 points is probably the most, other than the Trevor Lawrence move, is probably the biggest news of the year.
Story,
I
yeah.
mean, that's crazy. That's like saying Boston College holds Clemson to 7 points.
That'd be
Like
impossible.
it would be it's a big headline, kind of like that would be, is
Yeah,
what I'm trying to
I
say.
understand. Yeah, I got you.
And Cincinnati's defense hasn't allowed 20 points at all this year. But on the other side of the ball, we have our boy who came on with us and had a little conversation, Mr. Harold Nash Jr. and the Memphis Tigers. I mean, the Memphis Tigers have been kind of under the radar for most people this year. They had a tough week last week, but Brady White can have a big play explosion at any point in time. I mean, that kid has an arm and can just air it out and move with his feet. But again, Cincinnati's been another Cinderella team along with Oklahoma State this year, and they struggled last year against Memphis. The both times they faced Memphis, they lost,
Yeah,
both in
if
the
you
regular season and in the championship game. But I have this being a Memphis game. I think Cincinnati will kind of choke a little bit in the end here. I think their defense is going to struggle against a Memphis team that can kind of pull anything out of its hat. And again, this is Halloween night. Weird things can happen.
right,
I have Memphis winning 31-28.
that's a good
And
one. That's a good one.
I know everyone's gonna say, what? Cincinnati after last week? But I have faith in my boys over there. Harold Nash, if you're listening, this one's for you. And your Memphis Tigers, so pull out the win.
Yeah, it's in Cincinnati at Nippert Stadium, which for me is, I mean, no place is really tough to play this year. But if you look at the Memphis Cincinnati, like if you go to ESPN and look at the like the scores for or the schedule for ranked games, and then they give you 3 players to watch. I mean, all 3 of them are Memphis players: the Brady White, Rodriguez Clark for running, and Calvin Austin for reception. So, yeah, I like that pick. But I still think Cincinnati wins. I think Luke Fickle's on a mission, and like I said, Luke Fickle, if he plays his cards right, is going to be at a big time program next year. And with that, we'll head into the final game, or the second to last game before, or the last game before we get into the game of the week. I was shocked you didn't jump all over this one. Western Kentucky at BYU. I figured this isn't going to be a very good game, I don't think, but people just need to start realizing how good BYU is, especially defensively.
Wait, can I get that on recording? Hans, if you're watching this back, can you clip that for me?
Yeah.
I just want to know.
Shut up. But yeah, I think I mean what Zach Wilson's doing, that offense is doing, and I will say the teams that they're playing.
And Zach Wilson, we trust.
The teams that they're playing just aren't good. They just, I mean, it's not their fault. It's you schedule who you schedule. I also didn't know BYU was an independent. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
I'm almost, I don't want to be wrong, but I'm almost positive they're independent. So, but yeah, I think BYU, and people need to get their eyes on this game because Zach Wilson is for real. But we're running a little behind, so we're going to get right into the thick of things. On Halloween night, like you said, crazy things happen, and unfortunately, this isn't. I mean, we'll talk about it, but the luster isn't really all there anymore. You had number 3 Ohio State at Penn State, which was going into it was going to be probably a top 3 game of the year and was going to determine how the Big Ten ended up. But I'll let you start first because I'm the Ohio State expert. And I'll let you start first.
I mean, I think this is going to be, again, I think, the luster was kind of taken out of this game after Penn State really struggled last week against Indiana. And Justin Fields showed what Justin Fields and that offense can be. And, with Trevor Lawrence being out and everything could, really push for being a top 2 team in the country right about now. They're hitting stride and they're having things go right. And with Penn State, they're just missing a lot of key players on defense. I mean, their big one being Mekhi Parsons, choosing to opt out this year to focus on the draft. I think that's really going to be their Micah. Sorry. Yeah. Micah Parsons. But I think that defense, again, really struggled late against Indiana. And I think it's going to be their downfall for most of this year because they don't have a true middle linebacker that can control that field and stop the run.
Yeah, I'm really kind of bummed out. Actually, one of our writers that I don't know if you know him, Eric Webb, he was like, he posted on my Facebook today. He's like, the whiteout's one of the coolest things. It sucks it's not happening this weekend. And I replied, I was like, yeah, even an Ohio State fan, it sucks there's going to be no whiteout this week. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of the coolest backdrops. If you ever get the chance, just
I
go
know
look on
that's
you.
what we had talked about it. That's one of like the top two places I want to go
Yeah, I mean, and
because
like,
it's just again, I think that's also a huge contributing factor. Penn State not having as they say, the 12th man and having that whiteout is going to play another big factor. I just don't think they can feed off each other to really hold, contain this Justin Fields and his kind of high powered offense.
and I said it to Eric Webb on. So Eric, if you're listening, I'm sorry I don't really know you that much, but I know you write for us, so that's awesome. Um, but that's the other thing I was saying. It's lost all its luster, and I do think James Franklin will have his guys ready to go. I mean, he's a good coach; they'll be ready to go. But as a Penn State player, it's a big difference when you're walking into a stadium that has your friends and family, than has 100,000 screaming drunk college students in white. So it's going to play a difference as well. And like I said, what I didn't know, Sean Clifford, the Penn State quarterback, actually had I think 17 carries last week for over 100 yards, and so that kind of worries me a little bit with Ohio State because. I mean, it feels like a quarterback scramble is always comes at like the worst time, like on 3rd and 7 when your DBs have everything covered and they just run up the middle for 8 yards. But I think that'll be interesting. But like I've said all year, I think Ohio State's offense is way too lethal for anyone to be able to handle, even if it gets colder. I think their receiving core is the best in the nation, especially with. I mean, obviously, I'm sorry for Jalen Waddle, but especially with Jalen Waddle being out at Alabama. I mean, Garrett Wilson in the slot, Chris Olave in the on the outside, and then the two true freshmen who are just. I mean, Jackson Smith Nigba, who made that crazy catch last week. That was insane. But I think this one. I think Ohio State takes care of business, and I have them winning. Do you have anything else on that?
No, I was just gonna say my prediction after you did yours.
Okay, yeah. So mine, I predicted that Ohio State was going to win 45-31. I have a hard time believing now that I look back on that they'll be able to score 31 on Ohio State. But then again, Ohio State's defense was suspect last week.
Yeah.
But they'll definitely be able to put points. I mean, this is probably the one game that Penn State will miss Micah Parsons the most. Not that he would have been like playing passing lanes or something like that, but just like
his presence on that
presence
field.
and as like a team leader and things like that. So they'll miss him with that. But I think Ohio State. I think it stays close for maybe a quarter, maybe a half. But I mean, kind of like last year versus Nebraska for Ohio State, they'll eventually pull away. And I just think Justin Fields and those receivers are too good to. It'll be interesting to see that the run game, because the run game was not very good last week, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, because if Ohio State doesn't have a running game, they have no chance. So,
Right.
What do you got on it?
I have Ohio State 31, Penn State 24. I think it's going to potentially be like what it was for the Georgia versus Alabama game. I think, Penn State could go into the half leading, say 14-10 or, 14-14 going into half. And then, Ohio State just turns it on in the second half. They're still able to get like a touchdown and maybe a field goal, but that's really it.
Yeah, like you said,
it's a tough game to predict because again, it's been a year of college football that anything can happen. And it's Halloween. Especially anything could happen. We could both be wrong and Penn State could somehow beat them by, a touchdown or two.
I have no doubt that Penn State has the ability to win the game. It's just as a player there, it's got to be so much different without the white. Like the whiteout probably is like handicaps Clemson, like gives them 10 points just because of the whiteout. But
right.
Yeah, I mean that's maybe we'll do. I don't know what you're doing tomorrow night, but maybe we can start. Maybe I think that game starts at 8 but I'll maybe just do a live watch or if you want to join or something. But yeah,
Right.
I think it'll be a good game for a little bit, and then Ohio State will pull away. And
Hmm.
like I said, I am winning 45-31. But now let's head into our locks of the week. So basically, we changed up the way we're going to score. We each picked our games. We'll get our record from each game. Like even though you like, if you predicted the wrong score, but your winner was right, that counts as a win. And then we'll go with our locks. We each will have five. We're supposed to have three, but you did five, so I did five. So let's get into our locks of the week. So you can go ahead, Jake.
My five locks of the week right now, the three that I'm really confident about is Oklahoma State minus 3.5, and then the under for the floor. My second is the under at 61.5 for the Florida versus Missouri game. I just think that's going to be a low scoring game. And my third official lock is BYU minus 29.
That's a good
I
one.
think though that one's going to be, I think it's going to be up there. It's going to be close to 29, but I think they'll be able to push it out. My next one is minus Alabama minus 31. My second bonus is Ohio State versus Penn State under 64.
That's good. I mean, that sounds like I actually looked really hard at that BYU minus 29 as well, but yeah, they all look pretty good to me. I Penn State's not going to score enough points to make that over at
Exactly.
60 hits. So um, Alabama, I mean, I would say they're going to have a tough time covering 31 points, but they're not because Mississippi State is just, I mean, they are in shambles right now.
Exactly.
So my five as well are I like Michigan State plus 25, 24 and a half. I like Boston College plus 31.
Ooh.
Um, Cincinnati minus 7. Ohio State minus 12. And Oklahoma versus Texas Tech in a game that there will be no defense played over 68 and a
Really,
half.
really, Oklahoma's been a strong defense this year. They've been solid.
Are you kidding?
No. I mean,
But
their defense has been suspect at some points, but I
yeah,
mean, we
so
saw what Cincinnati did. So
yeah, it's so like I said, Oklahoma versus Texas Tech over 68 and a half. We'll both be tweeting this tomorrow on our Twitters and the Fourth and Long pod. So you can follow that, and I'll get to that at the end. All right,
yeah.
so let's go with our playoff picture. Um, you can go ahead if you want.
My playoff picture as it stands right now, I have Clemson at number one, Alabama at number two, number three, Ohio State, and number four being my boys from the BYU.
I mean, I hope you're going to change that next week.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna.
I hope you're just
You
get.
gotta give me. You gotta give me it for one last week. I
Yeah,
mean, I
no,
still think they'll finish top 10. Again, I really went back and forth at looking at the sidelines. I think Notre Dame right now, like if it started today, would be the number four, but I think BYU would be a strong number five.
Um, I don't have BYU that high. I think they're like seventh or eighth in my
Okay.
rankings, but
Okay.
you're just in love with them. But whatever. I have Clemson number one, Alabama number two, Ohio State or no Notre Dame three, and Ohio State four. And my first two out are Georgia and Oklahoma State. This would be, I mean, if this were the matchups in the semifinals, the media are going to drool and drool and drool. You get a rematch of Clemson versus Ohio State from last year, and then you get the historical programs like Alabama and Notre Dame in the other game, and then no matter who wins those, really, unless it's Ohio State and Notre Dame, it's a kind of a rematch game, whether it be Alabama Clemson, Clemson Ohio State, Clemson or Ohio State, Alabama. But yeah, I like those four. And like I said, Georgia's still. I think they're going to end up losing another game, obviously in the SEC championship. So. And then Oklahoma State, I mean, they could squeak in, but I just don't see Ohio State losing with this week of an East this year. So that's the playoff picture. You got your top 10 ready?
Yeah, I do. I'm kind of going off what I had said. I had Notre Dame at number five, Oklahoma State being number six. Right now, I have Georgia at number seven. Number eight, I have Cincinnati. Number nine, Texas A&M, and number 10, Michigan.
I like that. I like that. Michigan, I like that inclusion in Michigan. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
know
mean,
I'm,
especially after last week, I know they struggled a little bit, but Again, with Florida not playing for 2 weeks, Wisconsin now not playing at all, and Oregon yet to play, I just think Michigan right now has the strongest, I want to say, strongest case to be at number 10. I still think Texas A&M, Cincinnati, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame are all better teams than Michigan is right
Sorry, I just flashed your message. Didn't read it, but
now. It's all right.
I just never end up looking at it. We're going to skip the debate for this week, though. And we'll
Okay.
get into trivia after this. So my top 10 is Clemson, Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State 4, 5 and 6, Georgia and Oklahoma State, 7 Cincinnati, 8 BYU, 9 Florida, and 10 Texas A&M. I just feel like Florida and Texas A&M are waiting to get picked off. But for right now, that's what I got. And so we'll go with that. And with that, I do have one more section real quick. 3 players to watch this weekend.
But we're actually going to change that to 4, given the news that dropped yesterday.
Okay.
We're gonna add somebody. Do you mind if I start off with him?
Yeah, go ahead.
Since I am the only one right now that can pronounce his last name. And these are in no specific order, but the first one we're going to talk about is DJ Weagalule, out of Clemson. You know, getting his first official career college start. You know, it's going to be interesting to see what this kid can do. I mean, he's the future of that team once Trevor Lawrence goes either this year or next year. But it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. I mean, he is built like Cam Newton. He is 6'5", around 250 pounds, and he has some wheels. And we all know what Cam Newton did back at Auburn when he was in college, led them to a national championship, carried that team, went on to win an MVP in the NFL, kind of debacle in the Super Bowl. But, you know, he's got the size for him, and he has the arm, and I think it's going to be a great combination for Dabo Swinney. I'm sorry I mentioned his name, Justin, but I think it's going to be a good prospect for him.
When you say his name, I just get pumped up and get fire in my eyes.
But if you want to touch base on the other 3.
Yeah, it is going to be weird to see how Clemson fans and how Clemson people the media reacts to them next year when they don't have Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, the other 3 players I had, I had Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. He's playing mostly slot this year. He was a 5-star prospect last year. Caught the ball 30 times, 432 yards last year as a true freshman. And he had a big game, over 100 yards, an opening weekend versus Nebraska. So I think he'll have a big game against Penn State as well. Also, Sean Clifford is a name to watch. Obviously, kind of like you, DJ for Clemson. But Clifford, will be interesting to see what he does. Like I said, he's a capable runner. So we'll see if he uses that. And then the third player to watch I have is Cincinnati quarterback Desmond Ridder. He rushed for 179 yards on 8 carries last week. So let's see if that was total fluke or if Memphis can kind of come in there and do it. So with that being said, we've pretty much gone over everything, and now we're going to hop into our trivia portion. You ready for that, Jake?
Yep. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. Okay. Who leads the NCAA in rushing yards all time in a career?
Ooh, all time in a career?
Yeah. So it's 7,155.
7,155. I want to say, and I only get one option, correct? One guess.
I don't do multiple choice. I'm not like you.
No, I said I get one guess, because sometimes you let me have 2 guesses.
No, so you get one guess. We're running short on time, so you get one guess.
Okay, I'm gonna say Bo Jackson.
No, I sent it to you.
Okay, I wasn't gonna get that one.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. All right.
This one you'll probably get. This is one of my easier questions. Who won 2 Heismans?
Archie Griffin.
Yep, you got that right.
Are you serious? Come on, man. Now you're making me like feel bad, like I'm an idiot or something.
Well, you were questioning yourself. You're like, wait, is it Archie Griffin?
Because it was so easy for me that I was like, did you really ask an Ohio State fan, the only player to win
Yeah,
two
I
Heisman?
know. I
Um,
know. It wasn't the best, but
this one's
the
tough
next
for
one.
me too, a little bit, but once you hear it, you'll understand it, and like you might
What's
get it
up,
out.
bro?
Who is the all-time winningest quarterback in the history of college football, and what was his career record?
Oh. Oh, I remember this. This is someone that I know.
Do you want me to give you a hint?
Yeah,
He's a certain type of coach in the NFL now.
a certain type of coach.
He's an offensive coordinator.
Oh, this is hard because I'm thinking of somebody, but I don't know if he would have him. It's not him. Are you sure he's a assistant coach right now?
I'm pretty sure he's the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys.
Oh, and I don't even know who the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys is.
All right.
I was gonna say, what is it called? Oh God, now I'm drawing on his name. Kellen Moore
Yep.
out of Boise.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, he went 50-3, didn't he?
Yep.
It was 50 and so he won 50 games.
Yeah.
Okay,
Send
got
it
it.
over. Yeah. There you go. That's good. That was good. I'm
All
proud.
right, I was sweating it for a second. Um, all right, this next one, I have two answers that you can get for this. Because I don't think you'll get the first one. Longest field goal ever kicked in a college football game. So officially, it's not an NCAA school; it's an NAIA school.
Um,
But you can also give me the NCAA one if you know it.
like the player or what?
Yeah. Well, if you want the player, then I would give you the NCAA one because you
Um,
should know that one. That one's pretty easy. He had a really good career in the NFL.
um,
I'll give you two guesses on this one.
really good career in the NFL. Mike Nugent.
Nope. One
Um,
more.
Sebastian Janikowski.
Close, but no cigar.
That's fine.
I'm gonna type in the chat.
I don't know kickers. You gonna give it to me?
Well, I'm typing in chat. I wasn't gonna. I thought we were also testing
Yeah,
the.
no. So I'm waiting for it to come in the
Yeah.
chat. I never would have got that. All I remember that guy for is when he made a field goal in the NFL and jumped up and then tore his ACL.
But see, he did have a really good career in the.
It was the NAI school.
Um, I just typed in the chat.
I don't even know how to say that name, but he's clearly Russian or no, he's Swedish. Yeah. All right, so we're both 1 for 2. I think. Yeah.
No, you still no. We're both 1 for 1. You still have your. Or I'm one for. Who
We're both.
you asked first, so I'm. Do I still have no? I still have one more question to ask you.
Yeah, I still have one more question too. We're both 1 for 2. You got Kellen Moore. You didn't get the other one, and then I got your first one and didn't get the second one.
Yeah, so we're both 1-1. Why would we be 1-2?
1 out of 2. My bad.
Okay,
Whatever.
I was so confused. I'm like 1 and 2. I'm like, wait, I didn't get two questions on yet, but
I'd be a little surprised if you got this one. All right. In 2009, Mark Ingram won the Heisman by the slimmest margin in Heisman vote history, 1,304 votes. Who came in second with 1,276 votes?
oh, the second that was Mark Ingram. Um, wait, I remember this. I know it's gonna be a quarterback.
It's not a quarterback. I'll give you that.
It's not.
No.
Wait. Oh, Oh, I remember his last name. I don't remember his first name. Is it because I remember because it was so freaking weird? Is it Gearhart?
Toby Gerhart. Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Let's go out of Stanford, right?
Yeah,
Let's go.
you were 2 for 3.
Woo,
All right,
got it.
that's a good one. I'm surprised you got that one. I don't
No,
think
I remember because it was that year that Ndamukong Suh was also drafted, so he was 4. Colt McCoy, who fell off the face of the earth after his first year, was Texas. It was Gearhart. I didn't remember his first name, but I remembered his last name because it sounded like a gear. And one of the announcers that was announcing for it always went like a gear.
okay.
Who finished 7th that year? That's not my question, but you should know that.
I don't know.
Kellen
Adrian.
Moore.
Oh, Adrian. I was gonna say Adrian Peters. That's another question I could ask you. What's the highest a freshman's ever gotten in the Heisman race?
Oh, like true freshman?
Yeah,
I
it's
know the redshirt freshman was my question was going to be who was the first like freshman to win a Heisman, and it was Johnny Manziel in 2012. He was a
red.
redshirt freshman.
No true freshman has ever won it.
Yeah, so, I mean I'm not surprised.
Adrian Peterson came the closest.
All right, my last question is who's the first football player to have won a college championship, a Heisman Trophy, a Super Bowl, and a Super Bowl MVP? It's not a quarterback.
Super Bowl MVP.
It's not a quarterback. I'll give you that much.
Won the Heisman.
That, that narrows it down a lot for you. I don't know why I gave you that hint.
Is it like recent?
No, no. Not even close.
Um,
I want to say it's 2020. I want to say about 50, maybe 40 years ago. 10,
Bo,
9.
Bo Jackson. Um,
Marcus. Oh, wait.
Marcus Allen.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't get it right. I didn't.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I went 1 for 3. You went 2 for 3. So,
Oh, coming back.
like I said, and then I'll have the score sheet. I'm actually going to get for our trivia and our scores. I'm going to get a little dry erase board, and I'll put it on
Okay.
the wall behind me, and we'll be able to keep it. But I'll
All
also
right.
keep it on my laptop. So yeah, sorry.
It better be a Buckeye board.
It's
They
wow,
sell they sell they sell dry erase boards.
whatever. I don't know what you're trying to get at there. I'm very confused. Um,
You can have it mailed to you. Amazon's a great thing.
um, I know Amazon is great. I love it. But yeah, with that being said, sorry for starting a little bit late. Like I said, I got a little bit of sleep, so that just some closing things to say. We obviously wish the best for Graham Mertz and all the quarterbacks and all the players at Wisconsin, and then Trevor Lawrence, his friends and family as well. Make sure you follow this podcast on Twitter, especially on Saturdays. Game days, we tweet out highlights and things, and that is at the number 4 and long pod. That's the number 4 at and long pod. And then you can follow us both on Twitter. Mine's at BROWNLOJCLE, and yours is PICUITTO.
PICCUITO. At
J.
PICCUITO Jacob. That is my Twitter.
All right, and then the last thing I had is I'm probably tomorrow I'm gonna create an Instagram for basically all our highlights. We'll start putting those highlights on there, but I will let everyone know on the Twitter when that is up, and if it's up for this week, I'm gonna try and do it, but we'll see. And with that, we're running a little bit over. Still got under a minute and 10. Should be a pretty good week of college football. I'm looking forward to it.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, I'm sure we're going to see some weird stuff happen because just weird stuff happens on Halloween. And I'm still just kind of bummed we don't get to see the whiteout because I just love watching it. But
Yes.
so that's going to be it for us this week. Check us out next Tuesday when we kind of go over our picks and we go over how I destroyed Jacob in all the picks. Didn't destroy him in Twitter this week because, or didn't in Twitter
Trivia.
this week
Trivia.
because I decided to go easy on him. But yeah, that's all I got. Jacob, you got anything, man?
No, just everyone be safe and cautious this weekend with Halloween and everything.
Don't be an idiot like 22, 21-year-old that goes to these house parties with like 6,000 people at them. Like,
You know,
dude, you're gonna
stay
catch.
home, watch scary movie. First episode of The Mandalorian's out. Watch that.
Don't watch that.
Do something else. Just don't be safe.
Don't watch The Mandalorian.
Go watch Draft Day. Go watch Draft Day.
I will watch Draft Day tonight. All right, that's it for us. Fourth and Long Pod. Like I said, check us out next Tuesday. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Horns down.
Horns down this week, baby.